More important for us here is to learn. Watch today how it's just saved South Korea's democracy. Crowds rushed in to overwhelm the soldiers at the National Assembly.
South Koreans, on a dime, in the middle of the night, decided they were not going back. People immediately took to the streets in the freezing cold of night in their parkas, all ages. Exciting, inspiring, energizing to watch everyday Koreans. I mean, all ages. I think there's a lesson there for us, right? Americans in 2024.
안녕하세요, 원다입니다.
세계를 충격에 빠뜨린 비상계엄령 사태 후 세계 주요 외신들로부터 쏟아져 나오는 놀라운 반응이 세계인들의 시선을 집중시키고 있습니다. 그것은 바로 한국인들을 보며 우리도 배워야 한다는 반응인데요. K-팝과 K-드라마 등 각종 분야에서 전 세계인들을 사로잡아온 한국에서 벌어진 이번 사태는 한국인을 비롯한 전 세계인들을 충격에 빠뜨리기에 충분했고 한국의 국제적 이미지가 손상됐을 것이라는 우려에 휩싸이게 했지만 이번 위기에서 보여준 한국인들의 놀라운 모습은 오히려 한국에 대한 인식을 더 멋지게 만든 듯합니다. 미국, 호주, 일본 방송 모두 한국인들을 보며 배워야 한다며 한 목소리를 냈는데요. 모든 상황과 역사적 사실까지 조목조목 짚어가며 이번 사태 속 한국인들의 모습을 통해 미국인들이 배워야 할 것이 무엇인지 전하고 있는 미국 MBC 방송부터 함께 들어보겠습니다.
As we here in America struggle to uphold our own democratic institutions, there is a situation playing out in South Korea right now that is remarkably relevant, disturbing, and maybe at this hour, quite hopeful. The remarkable scene you may have seen throughout the day unfolding over just the last 24 hours where citizens of South Korea have taken to the streets to defend democracy against an erratic far-right president who declared martial law. That president would be Yoon Suk-yeol. He was talked about as a lame duck president, which made his declaration yesterday all the more shocking. Yoon made a speech to the nation overnight, full of sort of Trumpian inflection, saying, quote, "I declare emergency martial law to defend the free Republic of Korea from the threats of North Korean communist forces and to eradicate the shameless pro-North Korean anti-state forces that are plundering the freedom and happiness of our people and to protect the free constitutional order. Through this emergency martial law, I will rebuild and defend the free Republic of Korea, which is falling into ruin. To this end, I will surely eradicate the criminals of the anti-state forces who have been committing atrocities so far." The Army General Yoon put in charge then issued the declaration of martial law. And if you were wondering what that looks like in the democratic country of South Korea, quote, "All political activities, including the operations of the National Assembly, local councils, political parties, political associations, assemblies, and demonstrations are strictly prohibited. All media and publications will be subject to the control of the martial law command. Strikes, work slowdowns, and gatherings that incite social disorder are forbidden. All medical professionals, including resident doctors currently on strike or absent from medical duties, must return to their work and perform their responsibilities within 48 hours. Violators will be dealt with under martial law." I mean, just straight up dictatorship, right? A dictatorial power grab. Like, we ban all politics henceforth. Nothing in civil society can happen, right? Single-handedly revoking freedom of speech and freedom of assembly, freedom of movement, the freedom to strike. And all of this happening in a country where memories of authoritarian rule are fresh. This is a democratic country because its people fought for that democracy. After a series of authoritarian regimes in the post-World War II era, post-Korean War era, a military coup swept South Korea in 1980.
South Korea is under full martial law after a week of student violence and what the official announcement called North Korean movements. Minutes after the announcement, the martial law command closed the schools, banned political activity, and arrested several well-known dissidents, including the head of South Korea's major political party.
You see the through line there, right? Of course, the North Korean menace, the sort of threat of communist infiltration and fifth columnists. And in 1980, the coup plotters smashed protesters, established a one-party state that lasted until free elections in 1987, brought down through street protests, basically. And after Yoon's martial law announcement last night, well, South Koreans, on a dime, in the middle of the night, decided they were not going back. People immediately took to the streets in the freezing cold of night in their parkas, all ages. And they did not just protest for the sake of protesting. They had a very specific goal in mind. You see, the country's legislature could block Yoon's martial law decree with a simple majority vote. But Yoon's declaration banned political activities, and he sent soldiers to the National Assembly building, basically their capital, right, to enforce the ban and to block lawmakers from getting inside the building for a quorum where they could have a vote. And so what do? You get visuals like this, as civilian protesters teamed up with those lawmakers who rushed to the Capitol to help them scale the Capitol building and get inside to cast their votes. It was, as one commentator on social media put it, a reverse January 6th, right? Breaking into the Capitol to vote to save democracy, working together to get the National Assembly to vote to overrule martial law. And it worked. Within 3 hours of Yoon's speech, a quorum of lawmakers, I believe 190 of them, got into the building. They forced a vote to reject his martial law declaration. A unanimous vote. A unanimous vote. As the AP noted, all 190 lawmakers who participated in the vote supported the lifting of martial law. Immediately after that vote, television footage showed soldiers who'd been stationed at Parliament leaving the site. And 6 hours after he declared martial law as the sun rose over Seoul, President Yoon Suk-yeol backed down. My bad. Maybe not. He lifted his order. The protesters are celebrating. Many are calling for Yoon to resign or be impeached. Now, I've been transfixed by these developments all day long. I don't know if you have as well. I mean, incredible stuff. Exciting, inspiring, energizing to watch everyday Koreans. I mean, all ages. People, I think, from what I could tell from the reporting, whose politics were really kind of all over the place, come out to stand up for democracy. Grandmas in their parkas in freezing temperatures. Standing up to armed soldiers in their faces, literally pushing their lawmakers to pass a law saving their democratic institutions. It's a different country, different constitution, different traditions. I think there's a lesson there for us, right, Americans in 2024. Crucially, a reminder that in the end, the last bulwark of democracy, the people themselves, working with and through an elected opposition unafraid to do the right thing.
호주의 스카이 뉴스 역시 한국인들이 어떻게 민주주의를 지킬 수 있었는지를 설명하며 한국인들의 모습으로부터 그들도 배워야 함을 강조했습니다.
Watch today how it's just saved South Korea's democracy. Last night, South Korea's president, Yoon Suk-yeol, suddenly declared martial law from 11 p.m., late enough to expect his opponents would struggle to organise themselves. Now, President Yoon did what's worked so often in coups before, in the past. He sent the army to shut down the National Assembly. He put the mainstream media under military censorship. But that stuff doesn't work anymore in the age of X. News of the coup, of course, flashed through social media. So did calls to resist. Crowds rushed in to overwhelm the soldiers at the National Assembly. Within 3 hours, 190 of the country's 300 politicians had got out of bed and inside the building and voted unanimously to demand the president end his martial law. In less than 6 hours, Yoon called off his martial law. Soldiers went home. Yoon now faces impeachment, even jail. And South Korea's democracy is safe. This will go down in history. It'll be a pub quiz test. What was the shortest martial law declaration in history? I don't know. More important for us here is to learn. I know. Let's not go overboard. We don't face martial law here. But then again, it is only a couple of years ago that Victoria's thuggish government ordered people to stay in their homes and fired rubber bullets at some who refused, even arresting people posting their resistance online. So yes, we do have lessons to learn here.
일본 공영 영화 방송인 NHK 방송 역시 이번 사태를 막는 일에 가장 큰 역할을 한 것은 모두가 발벗고 나선 대한민국 국민들이었다고 강조합니다.
The shortest periods of martial law in recent times. President Yoon Suk-yeol suddenly announced the measure late on Tuesday night. But before most of the country were out of bed, it was already over. Just 6 hours later, martial law was lifted, but it's not like Yoon had a choice, is it?
Oh, yes. He was forced to, okay? The Constitution says the president has to lift martial law if the assembly votes to end it, which it did. But I wonder if seeing the people rising up, like we saw in the video, might have played a role. Martial law hadn't been invoked in South Korea in almost 40 years, not since the military government, which was in power until the mid-1980s. Many people, especially those that are middle-aged or older, still remember that time. So the images of soldiers entering the National Assembly this time reminded them of that history, and they strongly rejected it, as they did back then.